Call to order. Special meeting of the Town of Florence Planning and Zoning Commission, August 26, 2015, and the time is now 6 p.m. Roll call, Mr. Olding.
Yes, sir. Chairman Pranzo.
What do you say?
Chairman Pranzo.
I'm here.
Vice Chair Patrick.
Present.
Commissioner Petty.
Present.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
Commissioner Fenstermaker.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Caught Lisa in the hallway. She didn't stop.
Okay, moving right along. Discussion, approval, and disapproval of the minutes of the regular meeting conducted August 6, 2015. Assume everybody has a copy and has had a chance to read them. Do we have any discussion?
Nope. No.
May we have a motion?
Make a motion we approve the minutes from the last meeting, August 6th.
And I second the motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Fenstermaker, to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The minutes are approved. Public hearings. First Street Zone Change, PZ 1550ZC. This is a presentation, discussion, recommendation of a zone change request by Piero Buccellato to change the zoning on approximately .3 C, 36 acres located on 680 East First Street, Florence. Do we have a presentation?
Chair, members of the Commission, good evening. First, I'm going to introduce the new face sitting here at the table because I was going to wait all the way to the end of the meeting, but you're probably wondering who this gentleman is. This is William Randolph, or Will, and he has taken the planner position that was vacated by Heath Reed. So you'll be seeing his face every once in a while. His focus, though, will mostly be the historic district and the things in the downtown area. So he'll be the liaison to the HDEC. So with that, I will move on to business. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
This case probably looks quite familiar to you because we've been here before, but as we were going through the process, we also hired a new attorney who had some different interpretations on some things. So we kind of did a restart on the process, and we're coming back to you. But if you recall, we previously had a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission for the zone change, and it was on its way to council. We're back here to once again present the zone change to you, and nothing has changed since the last time we presented it to you. They're still talking about the vacant piece of property that is on First, right before you get to 79. Not the commercial business that is there already, but the vacant lot that is between the commercial business and the church. This is a property that's in the general plan is highway mixed use, which means it supports being zoned to commercial. Right now it's zoned residential, as you can see in the map here. As we zone it to B2, it would fill that void and come back to Phoenix Street with commercial, which would be consistent a little bit north of this map. Actually, would be the Taco Bell site, and their commercial on their 3 parcels runs to Phoenix Street. So ultimately, we may see the commercial in some areas along 79 going back that deep, because to only go on the first lot, it's a little bit shallow. And of course, Mount Athos is another example of how you need to go back a little bit further so you can have a building and you can have parking. So Piero Buccellato has asked for the zoning on the rear property, the undeveloped vacant property, because they have plans to really do more with the building that's been done with it in the past. It's been a long-standing commercial building. It's been occupied as long as I can remember. There's been hair salons, chiropractors, different uses in there. But they would like to kind of take it to the next level. They've painted the building, and they've gotten some permits to do some minor tenant improvement work on the inside. They are really trying to dress up the building a little bit. But part of the equation on having a successful business there is having the opportunity to have a little bit more parking and better circulation and better access. And that's what this rear property is going to allow them to do. As you know, the way that it's operated as a commercial business for some time, it has somewhat restricted access, and it's a little tight on parking. So this is really a great opportunity for them to be able to grow the business in this building, add more parking, and retention and some landscaping as well. So you do have in our report a favorable recommendation for the zone change, and with your support, we'd like to send a favorable recommendation to council and continue moving forward with this case. And this is a public hearing tonight, and I'd be happy to address any questions you may have.
At this time, I'll open it up to the commission.
Yes, I'd like to know who Piero Busaletto is and his father.
Excuse me. Should we open up the, if you wish, should we open up the public hearing first and then do questions to the applicant?
If staff would prefer that, I need to know that's okay with the commission.
That's fine.
Then, at this time, we'll open up to the public hearing.
Thank you.
The applicant is present. If you would like the applicant to come forward, if you have questions for him, I'm sure he'd be willing to do that if that's what your request is.
Thank you for catching that, Gilbert.
Yes, I would like to have Mr. Piero Busaletto and his father.
Well, Piero Busaletto is the applicant, and sir, if you would come forward as the applicant, and the commission may have questions regarding the case.
How you guys doing?
If you'd state your name and address.
Piero Bucciolato,
Address?
10099 East Hayloft Drive, Florence, Arizona.
Was there an error in this document? It lists you and your father as property owners?
No, my father's not a property owner. It's me and my brother.
Okay, so there is an error on this document.
Yeah.
Can we request that that they change it after the meeting, or put that in when we hand it off to the town council? The document isn't correct here.
As far as the staff report, when we initially wrote the report, I believe the report does say Piero Bucciolato and his father, but it's actually Piero and I believe your brother that own the property, and he's acting as the applicant. So, yes, we can correct that statement. That statement has no bearing on the case, but we can correct that for certain in the report that goes to the council.
It does have a bearing on the case, but we want, because it has the wrong name on the document. There is I'm just asking if it can be amended before it's sent to the town council, corrected.
Well, the minutes will reflect that we've made this correction, and the report to council will reflect what we discussed.
Paolo. He is
My brother?
the other brother.
Yeah.
And then he has you listed as not the owner of the property.
Paulo's not.
On page 1013, it says that the sheet must be completed if the applicant is not the owner of the property. We, the undersigned, do hereby grant permission to Piero Bucciolato, so-and-so, and then it's signed by Paolo. So in other words, it says that you're not the owner of the property. So
I think we're getting off the subject of the zone change a little bit, but I would say that form was filled out because while Piero and his brother own the property, Piero wanted to take the lead on filing the zone change and going through this process. And so that paper was merely meant to say, you know what, I understand that Piero is doing this, and I don't have any objections to that. So that's all that did. I don't even know that that was necessary, but that was just something to throw in the file to make sure that the brother had knowledge of the property being rezoned. That's all.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask you something? When an affidavit is signed with the wrong names, is that proper procedure?
I'm sorry, what page are you on?
I'm on page 1013. It says owner's permission form. That had this.
It's signed by
It's
Paulo.
Paulo.
So,
In reference.
that's his brother.
Right, in reference to Piero. And again, it says, this sheet must be completed if the applicant is not the owner of the property. So Piero is being given the permission as a non-property owner to act for before us. In other words, if you look at the.
So what it boils down to is, are you in partnership with your brother?
Yes.
Yes, and it can.
So if I go to the county records, it'll show that both of you own the property.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these documents need to be.
And your brother has given you permission to represent him here?
Yes.
Okay. So the discrepancy is that this form really indicates that Piero is not an owner.
It's a generic permission form that was utilized.
So let's fix it and move on.
Right.
All right.
And also the first page on the presentation where it mentions the father is not party to this.
We're aware of that. I believe we just discussed that. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I didn't get what you said.
I think that we've established who owns the property and who is moving forward with the application. And
Let's concentrate on the redundancy of this. We've been through this Chinese fire drill already. The Buccellato family have been residents of this town for a very long time. They're incredible contributors of tax money into the town's tax coffers. They're well-seasoned business people who know what they're doing. So let's not make this any harder on the applicant than it has to be.
Right. And then that's why hopefully we can get that straightened out before it goes to town council. We're looking out for the family. We welcome them in their tax base. And
Do we have any other questions on this? I don't have any. This side of the fence?
Just one.
Please.
Well, actually, I guess it's a question for staff and not the applicant, so I'll wait till you open it to the commission. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Buccellato, I got one question.
Okay.
Were there additional charges for you to reapply for the zoning?
No. But they took care of it, so good.
Good. Are there any other public comments? And at this time, I'm going to close the public and open it up to the commission.
My question is, at the publication of the staff report, it said that there had been no opposition to this, and I just wanted to make sure that since the publication until now, no public has come forward either way.
Chair, members of the commission, that would be correct. We've had a couple neighborhood meetings. There's been outreach to communicate with the neighbors. There's been notices sent. There's been display ads in the paper. There's been notices posted. We have affidavits of postings. I'm being facetious there, but the public process is quite substantial, and we've had no objection to what they plan on doing. And we are extremely excited about that property getting cleaned up a little bit. It needed some TLC big time, and what they're doing is a wonderful thing, and I think people have realized that.
Any other questions, comments?
No, I'm good.
May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion that we send to the town council a favorable recommendation for the zone change for case PZ-15-50-ZC.
A second.
Have a favorable recommendation from Commissioner Petty, second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. And I wish you the best of luck. Okay, moving right along. Bonnie Brook Solar Project Minor General Plan Amendment, PZ 1547 MGPA. This is a presentation, discussion, and recommendation of an application by Solar Star Arizona the 7th, LLC, a subsidiary of SunPower Corporation Systems, for a minor general plan amendment to the town's 2020 general plan use map. Mr. Olgin.
Chair, Vice Chair Commission, good evening. Tonight, before we get started, Drew Gibbons with the Bonnie Brook Solar Project is going to give a brief presentation that's in front of you, and then staff will follow up with the public hearings.
Thank you, Gilbert. Chair, members of the commission, my name is Drew Gibbons. I'm supposed to state my address, is that
Yeah.
done? Okay. 2927 Harrison Street, Oakland, California. I'm going to keep this very brief. I promise to keep it under 5 minutes. I think I can do better than that, so I'm going to get started. I'm just going to briefly tell you about SunPower, who we are as a company. We were founded in 1985, so we've been around for 30 years, headquartered in San Jose, California. We have over 1,500 megawatts of power plants in operation. So this project that we're here to talk about today is 50 megawatts, so that gives you an idea of how many of these we've built, and that doesn't include projects that are under construction or in our pipeline. So that's actually in the ground and operating. We have over 6,000 employees. We're publicly traded. So that's a little bit of background on the company. Just very briefly, we have a proven track record in Florence. SunPower built the Copper Crossing Solar Ranch that's about 10 miles north of downtown Florence. Completed construction at the end of 2011, and it's been in operation since then, delivering clean power to almost 4,000 homes. Actually, there was a map in the appendix that I think might be helpful, so, well, I'll stick here. I won't jump there. Just to talk a little bit about the project, I think that there's a few important things that, at SunPower we'd like for you to take away. First of all, this is a real project. It has a contract with a Fortune 100 company to purchase the project. So if approved by the town, we're going to start construction in the October-November timeframe, depending on timing of approval of building permits, and it'll be online producing power in 2016. There are real benefits. So Elliott Pollock did a cost-benefit analysis, and the net benefit to the town after costs are considered were almost $500,000 during construction and $1.2 million over the project life. And there's a couple tables that I have that can break that down a little bit more. Secondly, I think it's worth mentioning that it's a benefit that it's the landowner's opportunity to sell his land and make a positive impact on the town and the environment by putting a solar project on his land. And lastly, I think it's important to point out that solar projects are low impact. So once in operation, solar projects are low profile, clean running facilities with minimal noise, traffic, and dust. Moving right along, so I referred to Elliott Pollock's cost-benefit analysis. What you're looking at here is just fiscal impacts. We're just looking at revenue here. So that's that 500,000 or approximately 500,000 I mentioned during construction, majority of which is from sales tax. During the life of the project, there's also revenue directly to the town of almost 1.4 million. And then separately to the school district and flood, there's 5.8 million and 1.7 million respectively. Again, mostly from property tax.
35 years.
And very briefly, because we've already touched on this is the summary of the cost-benefit analysis. There's that $500,000 again during construction and $1.2 million over the life of the project, and that's again just to the town of Florence. This just gives you a snapshot of the Florence general plan, and it just shows that 97% of the project is within employment light industrial, according to the general plan, which would allow for a solar project. There are about 3% of the project site, which comes out to about 9 acres, falls within what's currently open space. So that's why we do have a minor general plan amendment to change that to employment/light industrial. The permitting process, we are going through annexation into the town, the minor general plan amendment, which I just talked about, and then we're also rezoning to a planned unit development specific to a solar facility. And that's really it. I wasn't going to go into the appendix, and I promise I won't very long, but I think it's worth noting for this group. Here, just for context of where the project's located, here is the Bonnie Brook Solar Project right here, and this circle here represents a 4-mile radius. So it's about 3 miles from downtown Florence. It's out up Diversion Dam Road, out towards the state prison complex. This land just to the west of the project is farmed by inmates currently. You'll see that it's out of the way of a lot of the master plan communities out to the west. And that's all I have for now. So thank you again for your time.
Chair, members of the commission, I think Drew just stole our thunder on our long presentations we were going to provide for you. I think he did a great job of giving you an overview of exactly of what we're doing here. There are specifically 2 requests to consider tonight, and there are public hearings for both. The first is a minor general plan amendment, just to change a very small portion of the site that's to the south end of the boundary from open space to employment light industrial. That is because when that open space was generally located on the land use map, it was reflecting the various canals that were in the area, the Cap Canal and some other local drainage channels. The open space swath was a little wider than it needs to be. It could be minimized. That's what they're doing with this case. It's a minor plan amendment that doesn't change the overall scheme for things in this area. When you get into the PUD zoning request, that is specifically creating a zoning category that really only allows two future primary uses to occur on the property. 1, the solar farm. 2, if something happened in the solar farm ever didn't happen or it ceased to occur in the future, the agricultural uses that exist there today would continue. We don't believe number 2 is really going to happen. Like Drew said, this is a real project. It did commence in the county, and I think one of the biggest issues in the county with this application was that they didn't have a planned category, a general plan category, and ultimately maybe even the zoning category that people felt comfortable with, that it would just be that particular use. It opened up potentially other uses that could happen on the property, whereas in our situation, the property is already largely employment light industrial in the general plan, and the zoning addresses what could be used on the property. So there are no concerns about, well, this could be, some completely incompatible, unwelcome use in the future. It is very narrowly written to make sure that we're supporting the request at hand. Also, as Drew said, we had a great working experience with SunPower as we did the Iberdrola SRP project up north that some of you may have been involved with. Turned out to be great. We thought that one was a big project at the time at 20 megawatts. This could be a 50 megawatt project. Of course, we're doing a sandstone project right now as well with S-Power, which is another similar sounding entity but a separate entity, and that is in the range of 40 to 50 megawatts as well. So right now we don't foresee any other solar projects in the queue. I think that's going to be determined what the level of incentives are out there at the federal and state level to support additional projects occurring. We know with this project, it needs to be complete by 2016 to be truly successful, and we're on a schedule that will ensure that occurs. There is an annexation request going forward, so the zoning, of course, would be a recommendation, and it cannot be finalized until the property is successfully annexed into the town. We have also had a lot of meetings on this particular project, both the annexation, the general plan, and the zoning. We have talked to all the owners out in the area. We have support for doing this request. As Drew noted, it has some interesting land uses around it, the prison aquaculture farm, other prison facilities, sand and gravel facilities, some residential units that are tucked in there along Padilla Road. Those folks seem to be happy because they actually will be getting some road improvements to their site as part of this. The major property owner that has land to the north and to the east of them is supportive, and it looks like everything is coming together on this particular project. So that kind of sums it up in a nutshell. I'd be happy to go into the GPA in more detail and then the PUD in more detail when we get to those points. But at this point, if you wanted to ask us questions or open it up to a public hearing, that would be appropriate.
Do you have any questions for staff?
I do. It says on page 4 that the maximum height for the solar panel is 20 feet. Is that 20 feet, the maximum height, or is it an estimate of? In other words, the sandstone solar panels are about 5 feet off the ground, and they're not visible from any other place around there. And the block wall around the sandstone is 8 feet.
Yeah, I think what you'll, Member Fenstermaker and Chair, members of the commission, in the zoning, so if you want to stay on the general plan, but just sidetracking a little bit to the PUD, ultimately, yes, there's a maximum height of the solar facilities at 20 feet. Drew could get into that if you open up the public hearing. He probably could come up and address that in greater detail. We don't expect that they're going to be 20 feet, but that's the maximum height that's established for the zoning.
I'm not sure I'm on the right page here. I'm looking on page 4 and I'm not finding anything.
I think we moved to the PUD. So on the general plan amendment, there wouldn't be any. On the general plan amendment, it's just a matter of does the south part.
There it is. Right.
Right.
I'd like to go to the PUD when we get there.
Yes.
I think the best thing to do right now, oh, you're in the PUD. We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
I want to move the meeting as fast as possible. I have a sense of
Well, I haven't been known to be speedy. I think the best thing to do at this time, does staff have, or does the commissioners have any more questions for staff?
No.
Then at this time, I'll open up to the public meeting.
And that's a public hearing on the GPA item. Thank you.
Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment, question about the project? Commissioners? Then I'll close the public hearing. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion, we approve, forward a favorable recommendation for the minor general plan amendment, PZ 15-47 MGPA.
And I'll second that.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Garcia and seconded by Commissioner Petty. Very favorable recommendation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Bonnie Brook Solar Project Plan Unit Development, PZ 15-48 PUD. Presentation, discussion, and recommendation of an application by Solar Star Arizona, proposing a zone change from initial comparable zoning to planned unit development zoning to develop a photoelectric solar facility on approximately 282 acres of land. At this time, I'll open to the public comment. Commissioners, do you have questions for the applicant?
Yes.
No, I was just going to make a comment. I serve on the county commission, and you guys came to us about doing this for a Fortune 100 company a few months back, and got a lot of opposition from surrounding landowners. So I'm glad to see that there isn't a lot of opposition to this, and that the surrounding owners are in favor of it. So I just thought I'd add that.
I was out there yesterday and again this morning, and I don't think that the height of the panels are going to affect anybody. There's no site. It looks like the Clark family has their, the ground is at a proper height and level that if you were south of property, east or west, you wouldn't notice the panels at all. I was just curious on the maximum height of 20 feet on the panel, and then they're motorized, so they're going to follow the sun. Essentially what I was interested in was the fact that you wouldn't see a big bright sunspot over there. It's going to be down low enough. The canals to the south is high enough that it's going to be fine over there. The other thing is, I wish the Clarks would keep their house there. That is a nice house, you know, and it really is decent. You have a nice garage. You have your tools all put away nicely, and
I'm getting lost. What are you talking about?
about their house. It's going to have to be destroyed on the property.
Completely separate issue.
Well, actually, no. It has to do with it because if you look at there's a small square to the east of the drawing, and that is their property.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any other questions or comments for the applicants? I do. If the applicant would please come forward. My questions really are going to center in on the PUD itself. On page 3 of the PUD, under background, it states, and I'll quote from the PUD, developing the proposed site would include constructing up to a 50 megawatt PV solar facility with interconnection facilities, an operations and maintenance building, and an interconnection to the Coolidge Bonnie Brook 115 kilowatt transmission line. Okay? And it also states that the project will include a substation. So what occurs to me as I look at the site and SRP providing a substation, are we going to have the Corporation Commission coming in and dictating where the 115 kV lines and poles are going to be located in order to facilitate this project?
Chair, members of the commission, so we can provide that detail. I mean, SRP has done a facility study, what's going to be done, need to be done to interconnect our project to their line. The good thing about our project is it is adjacent to that 115 kV line, so there's minimal change. Right now, it's just going to be moving one pole and adding one other pole.
Okay, so there's no impact to the residents?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, we're talking about a 50-foot span from our project to the line, approximately.
Okay. All right, in your presentation, and I'm sorry, not in your presentation, in the PUD, it's misleading, or at least I've been informed. So I'm going to ask you the question, but I like all the cards being on the table so that people can make good decisions. In the PUD, it says it will generate additional town property and sales tax revenue. Now, yes, I understand that it will generate property tax, because although diminished from light industrial. But I am informed, and I want to confirm with you, once the project's completed, and the TPT tax goes away, there's no sales tax on what you pump into the lines. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that's correct. Electricity is taxed out of the point of generation.
Right, so it's not going, in other words, what I'm looking for is there a revenue stream based on sales tax that would come into town hall? And the answer to that after construction is no.
No, the simple answer to that after construction is no. The story is property tax. So that report, the summary tables I showed you from Elliott Pollock, that's incremental property tax due to the improvements from the...
Right, right. Now, on your presentation, I believe it was the third slide. Can we bring that back? No, fourth, I must have lied. Yeah, I did lie. All right, construction sales tax, non-solar components. Are you telling me that there's going to be $286,000 in tax money? Or is that tax based on $286,000?
That's revenue to the town. So that's $286,000 of tax revenue directly to the town.
Okay, based on TPT tax, 4% or whatever it is.
That's for the economic consultants that did this, so I could have them come to the...
No, that's fine, that's fine. So we'll see $500,000 during construction. Well, the town could use a shot in the arm. But for purposes of PUD, that kind of language, just calling it sales tax, very misleading. It really does not generate revenue after construction is done. Now, I also understand there'll be no jobs available.
So, just to your previous point, I'm confused because I don't think we're trying to be misleading. We're only talking about construction.
When you say sales tax revenue, that means to me that you are paying sales tax on everything you sell to SRP.
Oh, okay, sorry. You're going to the PUD where we said the word sales tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really should say construction tax, TPT tax, something of that nature, so it's not misleading. Because when I look at it, I say, oh, great, we got a revenue stream.
Now we're on the same page. I understand.
Okay. And then there'll be no employment, basically.
No, so during construction, and I know you're talking about during operation, but I'll start with during construction. During peak construction, there'll be 150 construction jobs. During operations, we're talking about one full-time employee on site, and we'll also be hiring local subcontractors for landscaping and panel kind of thing. But, I mean, you're right, that it's not a job story during operation, and that's what I was talking about, it's low impact. That's the other side of that coin, is that once this project is built, you're talking about just panels sitting there, not creating dust, traffic, noise. But yes, you're right, the job story is during construction, not during the project life.
Okay. Well, you're 90% of the way there because Mr. Eckhoff presented this project. In matters of light industrial, anyone who's been around this town knows about me. I'm looking for cash flow. I'm trying to develop economically, go spend money with the buchelatos. But what you're telling me is I have no private income. The public sector really is not going to see any cash flow. So the benefit to the town on this project is that we're in line for approximately $500,000 during construction, and the development of the property, in my view, may entice others who want to develop light industrial to come to that part of Florence, because you will have already brought the power there and the substation. So there's a lot more benefit to this.
But if I may,
Sure.
Chair, so I would say that last part isn't, we're not creating distribution lines. We're tapping into an existing transmission line. So that's not changing anything as far as...
I looked out there, I didn't see that 115 kV line. It's there though, huh?
Yeah, it's on what's called Bonnie Brook Road, which is really just a farm road, but it's about a mile north of Diversion Dam.
Well, in any case, you might get somebody excited and they invest.
Well, what I would say to that is that the general plan currently calls for 97% of this site to be employment light industrial, so town planning sees that as the use for this land. And I mean, in my opinion, I think that this is the highest and best use of this specific land. I mean, we're talking about you know, low productivity agricultural land out near the prison and complex, and adjacent to a transmission line. I mean, I've been doing this for over 5 years, and this is easily the best site that I've seen for a solar project.
Great. Now, your parent company is located in San Jose?
Correct.
The foreign company that's been registered with the state of Arizona, they're located in Delaware?
So we develop all our projects in LLCs. So yes, the LLC was formed in Delaware.
Okay. So the money, the profit that you're making here in Arizona will leave Arizona?
I'd know.
It will go to your parent companies?
The money will go to SunPower, yes. The money that we're making of this project, yes, and we're based in California, correct.
Okay. Let me see, just take a quick look at my notes. Talked about the grid, Corporation Commission. Oh, here's a fun one. Do you have a business license in Florence?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we built the Copper Crossing project, so we're ready to go.
All right, well, that's everything I have. Thank you very much.
I'd like to ask you a question in regards to the road to the west, North Padilla Road.
Yes.
It says that there's the ownership of that road is in question, so what happens between you and the property owner to the west of there? There's a...
Mark Gilbert, can you address that?
Yes, Member Fenstermacher, Chair, members of the Commission. Padilla Road is a private, there's a private roadway there to get to those homes. They are going to ensure that they have legal access to their lots as part of the dedications and the plat that they do, and they've also promised to, at the very least, make it an all-weather road to improve upon the road that is there today. So right now, their access is a little bit questionable. It's been there for a long time, hasn't been an issue, but obviously with their neighbors developing property, they want to make sure, the residents and SunPower both want to make sure they have legal access, and the residents, that one of their biggest concerns, I guess, in all this project was their concern about the access and the condition of the road, and that's been addressed. And then, Member Patrick had a great comment, because I know when the project did go through the county, there was opposition from Arcus, I believe is the entity that owns the property, and they have really bent over backwards to work with those folks and iron out all those issues that were there. And I think, as I said before, the county's process actually provided a little bit more certainty of how the property would be developed, so that helped as well. But it was really nice to get to that point of building consensus and support. So also Diversion Dam Road in that area, although there's a paved roadway, there's some right-of-way that needs to be dedicated. They will be doing that. And then they will also be doing improvements on Quail Run because their access is at the northeast corner of the site, and they'll be doing some improvements to Quail Run, which ultimately in our plans is a road that will go somewhere, north and south, but for the long term, it's really going to be a road that is primarily used for either farming in the area or for access to the solar farm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please.
For the staff. I didn't see it, so it might be in there, and it might be addressed. I was just wondering, if Diversion Dam Road is improved, is there enough width of the right-of-way to handle any improvement to the road? Comfort?
Yeah, Chair, members of the Commission, Member Petty. Their particular use is not, the good thing, as Drew mentioned, is that it's a low-impact use. so it's not triggering really any impacts to the transportation system or police and fire or other entities, water, sewer systems. The road has an adequate width to it today. They will be dedicating the right-of-way to ensure that that's actual dedicated right-of-way in the town of Florence. And we'll have the capacity at a future date to expand the road somewhat to the north if necessary. To the south is a little bit more problematic because of the San Carlos canals that are there, and I know that the county and San Carlos have already been having those discussions about what ultimately to do with the road in that area. But with this project and with their cooperation, we have some capacity, if needed in the future, to widen to the north. They've left a cushion there on the project for that.
Commissioners, any more
I'm good.
questions, comments? I've lost my place. Are we still open in public meeting?
Yes.
He's shaking his head no, and you're saying,
Chair, I don't recall you closing the public hearing. I do not recall you closing the public hearing.
okay, then at this time, we'll close public meeting. Do we have any questions or comments specifically for staff? And may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we forward a favorable recommendation along with the recommendation staff provided on case PZ 15-48-PUD.
I'll second it.
Is that you?
Yeah.
We have a motion by Commissioner Petty and second by Commissioner Potrick. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, Director's Report.
Chair, members of the commission, again, I want to welcome Will to the planning team and to the town of Florence. And I won't put him on the spot to make him give a speech tonight, but I'm sure in the future we'll have him doing some presentations to you. We are looking forward to the library opening up next week and a couple of short weeks thereafter, pretty much wrapping up majority of the details on the library building and on the site, and scheduled also to have a grand opening soon thereafter that. So we'll initially go with a soft opening and then have an official grand opening ceremony, which will be a really big deal for us. I know on Monday night there will be a training in this room, I believe at 6 o'clock for open meeting law. And if the clerk is still behind me, she may actually get up there and call to the public and say something about that perhaps. But I know there's also another training coming up in September. And so it's good that we're getting back on these trainings so we kind of remember the basics of how we all operate as public bodies. We do have the Taco Bell plans in our office, so anybody who's getting doubts that the project is moving forward, it's still moving forward. It's just their schedule is slowed a little bit, but it is moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, you can see that the Sandstone Solar Project on Hunt Highway South is moving forward, and you see a lot of activity there with their construction control there on Hunt Highway. The Florence Cafe has opened, so we've added another restaurant to our community. Mr. Fenstermaker and I and the attorney, we attended a sign code workshop recently, and that really evolved around a recent Supreme Court decision that came up with the town of Gilbert. It was Reed versus Gilbert, and that the decision of that Supreme Court pretty much was probably rendered a lot of sign codes throughout the country defunct. And I know that we'll be working on a substantial overhaul of the sign code in the near future. And that's a few of the highlights I wanted to touch on tonight.
Thank you, sir. A call to the public, commission response. Call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Individual commission members may respond to criticisms made, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that that matter be put on a future agenda. Hi.
Hi, Lisa Garcia, 775 North Main Street, Florence staffer. Just here to let you know that on August 31st, we are inviting all members of towns, boards, and commissions to hear the Arizona Ombudsman speak about the open meeting law. It's a great opportunity to have the Attorney General's office come down and have their experts speak to us about what the laws mean and how we best go about doing business for the town of Florence. On September 14th, we're having Lance Decker come. And if you sign up, we're going to have a book for you. It's called Over My Dead Body, and it is a workbook for community involvement. We're very happy that he's coming to the town of Florence and going to discuss with us how to get the community more involved and how to work well as a team and how to have our different boards work well together. And so lots of opportunities for training, like Mark said. I'm here today with a list that says whether you're attending or not. If you could stop by and see me, I'd be happy to put a yes in everyone's name. Make sure you're here, you're signed up, and we're ready, and have your books and training materials ready for that day. I'll be sitting right over here. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Then I'll close call to the public. Call to the commission.
Larry, you were saying you were interested in going to Tucson on that planning?
Oh, well, the county's going to send me to the APA conference, so Scott Riggins is going and Frank Salas from the county, so I just asked him if you guys were going to send anybody, so. I thought I'd comment on Tim Knable's little update for our county commission meeting last week. And for those of you that travel 287 over to Casa Grande occasionally, wondering what's happening with Phoenix Mart, they're finally beginning construction. They did a lot of work on infrastructure, so a lot of digging trenches, laying pipes, that kind of stuff, but they are in the mode of construction, so we should see some vertical stuff over there. And the town of Coolidge has effectively annexed an area down south, east of 87 and north of Interstate 10, which is where the inland port will be. So Coolidge now extends all the way down to Interstate 10. And the Union Pacific yard at Red Rock is still kind of open. State Lands Commission was the big stall there, and we have a new State Lands Commission director, so we expect movement on that pretty quick. So those are the three big projects. That the expansion of Hunt Highway is completing Phase 2 and beginning Phase 3 next month. And during Phase 3, a part of Phase 3 will be the extension of Gansel, and that'll be done in two pieces. Plan A is the intersection of Gansel and Bella Vista across through the neighborhood there, and then Plan B is from that edge of that neighborhood out to Hunt Highway. They've figured out how to do it without moving the transmission tower, because that was $1.5 million project. So that's in the works, it's in the plans, and it's going to happen by the end of next year. And that's all I remember. Thanks.
Any other questions or any more comments?
I'd like to ask formally for sign package for the from Resolution 91705 that Mr. Holguin had gave me is Section 15 in regards to signs. The last two sentences, the town and developer acknowledge and agree that any and all amendments to the developer's sign package. I'd like to see that sign package and see where it's approved by the town must be approved in writing by the town and developer.
Any other comments? Please, may I have a, well, close of the commission, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn at
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Potter and second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Take your time.
We are adjourned.